Okay, so let's run through the scenario. You're a League of Legends player, you've never played Dota 2 before, you just come into the character select screen, and now you have absolutely no idea what to do. Maybe you went through the training, maybe it didn't. Either way, you're now faced with a wall of cards. And some of them have already been highlighted because somebody's playing as them, and you just don't know what to do. Well, I'm going to go ahead and explain a couple things to you that are going to make this really easy. For instance, if you want to find Skeleton King, you can just type SKE, and there he is. If you want to find Viper, you type VIP, there he is. If you want to find Venomancer, you know, VEN, and he comes up. Whoop, that was Vengeful Spirit. VNO, there you go. So you can literally just type the name of what it is you're looking for, and you can pretty much find it. So, like, if I want Treant Protector, there he is. TRE. Another thing you can do, which is something you're probably more used to seeing as a League player, is you can go into this grid view. And the grid view allows you to look at all the champions or heroes or whatever you want to call them in a nice, neat little grid. Now here's where the difficulty curve of the game is at its steepest, is when you first enter, because you have access to all the heroes in the game right off the bat. There is no, you play the characters that they've handpicked that week for you to play. You pretty much are just thrown in and you've got the full roster in front of you. And you've got to decide, who am I going to play as? So what you're going to want to do is use filters. For instance, you can choose if you want a melee champ or ranged champ. I always suggest making that your first pick instead of looking at the roles. They probably should have reorganized this a bit better, because some people I know just love to play ranged, and some just love to play melee and can't stand ranged for anything. So obviously melee, you're going to be closer into battle, you're going to be hitting things up front. Ranged, you're going to be, you know, staying back behind the wave and hitting creeps as they come into range, and you're going to do a lot of poking. So obviously if you want to poke, this is for you. If you want to run in and tank, these guys are for you. Already you can get a pretty good sense of what you're filtering. Now what are the characters? Well, we've got carries, so you've got the characters who are going to pretty much own that game. If you're first time playing and you've played carries before, I suggest an easy to play carry, such as, you know, like Viper. I really recommend Viper personally, or Clinks is also a pretty good ranged carry. As if you're a melee type, I've heard a lot of people enjoy Dragon Knight. I personally don't like Dragon Knight very much. Huskar is not a melee type, he's actually a ranged type, but he's a lot like Dr. Mundo, and then he sacrifices his health, and in turn he does more damage over time, so if you're into that sort of thing. A lot of people like to pick Sniper. I don't actually recommend Sniper, even though he has the fastest attack speed in the game, and you're going to see a lot of similarities between him and Misfortune. You're not going to have a good time because he's kind of complex. He's got a lot of skills on his bar, 4 of them actually, which is not that many, but you know, compare it to Clinks, who you're pretty much only going to be using 1 or 2 of his skills, and one of them's an auto, and then Viper, who has 1 skill, and that's all you use. So, you know, Viper's just easy to learn how to play. Q, 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 Q. That's all you have to do. And I don't mean like you're crying, I mean like you're just pressing letter Q. Okay, disablers. These are people who have stuns, silences. Lane supports. These are people who are able to help push a lane but are also supports. Then you got your basic support. These are people who are going to be able to heal or just, you know, help out in either lane or in jungle or all across the map. They're going to be changing from lane to lane. Durable. These are tanks. So that's pretty obvious. Pushers. These are people who, again, are good at pushing that lane. Lane support's kind of the same thing, but, you know, there's less support and more, you know, carry involved. Nukers, these are people who are going to do damage. Escape, these are going to be people who have run fast abilities. Like Clinks has an ability where he goes invisible and he runs fast. Weaver has an ability where he can like run really fast and I think actually teleport back to a location he was at. Faceless Void is able to control time and move fast. So, and Puck can teleport. So there's a lot of really cool characters here. Of course, obviously this dude's got Blink. So if you buy a Blink dagger on him, he's just like, what's this for? Why would I need that? So anyway, there's a lot of different characters to pick from, and obviously it's going to be pretty intimidating up front. But let's go back to the traditional list. I'm just going to walk through a couple of these who I'd suggest. If you're into Karthus, play Zeus. They're very similar. If you like healers, play Witch Doctor. Windrunner, if you're into, like, say, playing Ashe or Caitlyn or somebody with range that can shoot through multiple things at once. Weaver, I don't suggest him. Warlock, if you're into Annie, Warlock is pretty much almost identical with more channeling abilities, but you do get that big Tibber stun type thing every once in a while. Visage, I don't recommend him. Some people seem to love him. I don't like him, but he does have 2 units that he controls, and he's much more like a strategy game. If you're into playing like StarCraft, she's for you. Viper, pick Viper. Just pick Viper. You'll win. Venomancer, if you don't like buying wards, he makes his own wards, so he's pretty handy like that. He also has a lot of really powerful poisons. He's not very good at killing people, but he can certainly drain a person's health down to 1, and then one of your teammates can take that person out. Vengeful Spirit, a little bit of swapping, pretty handy there for swapping out, you know, an enemy if you're trying to pick him out of combat. Other than that, not very useful. Other than that, in team fights, I'm sure a lot of Vengeful Spirit players are going to get on me for that. I'm just saying that's what you're going to get. Ursa's a tank, but he's also a health draining tank, agility based. If you look at the color, by the way, I'm going to get into that in another lesson, but he's pretty good. Undying, don't pick him. He's too complex. He's got a lot of minions and stuff. Tusk is pretty good. He pretty much just has one ability where he punches people really hard, and the rest of his abilities are to move around like in a snowball and freeze people in place. You'll probably like him, actually. Troll Warlord, he can switch between ranged and melee. That's his thing. He can be ranged or melee. He's very similar to Darius, actually, in that regard. Not Darius, the guy with the big hammer that can turn... You know what I mean. Anyway, Treant Protector. I don't recommend him. Tiny. A lot of people suggest doing Tiny if it's your first time. I don't recommend him. I didn't like him at all. Tinker. If you're into items, if you want to learn items, use Tinker because he can reset the items instantly. Timbersaw. Don't play him until you've learned the game better, although he is kind of like... a little bit like Rumble. Tidehunter, I'd say avoid, even though he's got some good stuns and upfront tanking. Templar Assassin, way too many abilities upfront, and they've got that mine thing. Sven, pretty good to learn. He's got a stun and he hits people really hard. He's pretty much like Skeleton King. We'll get to him later. Storm Spirit, if you like Kennen, you'll like this guy. He's very mana dependent though, and you've got to learn how to balance your mana better because Kennen doesn't use mana for a reason. Spirit Breaker, he's kind of like a Sejuani who can just charge at people from across the map. Spectre is very much like Nocturne, able to pass through people and, you know, puts trails behind them and chases. Sniper, again, like Misfortune. Slark, I don't recommend. Slardar, I'd also say avoid. Skywrath Mage, I didn't really like either. Skeleton King, fantastic for new players if you're a melee type. He basically has reincarnation off the bat. You can't die. That is so easy. His only abilities are he can stun people and he can drain health. Stunning, draining health, and not being able to die sounds like a pretty easy carry to learn how to play. Silencer, guess what he does? He silences people. If you like silencing people and you know how to use that right and cancel out a person's abilities, I'd recommend it for a noob-time player. Shadow Shaman has a great ult, stuns people. He can put a bunch of wards down at once and they do like a massive amount of damage. You might like him. Try him out, see if you like him. Shadow Fiend, I don't recommend. He's a bit complicated because you need to understand how his 3 different shadow raises work. Shadow Demon, don't recommend. Sand King, do recommend for his channel, and I do recommend it for his ult, which stuns. Rubik can steal the ability of anybody he's fighting against. Fantastic in that regard. Really like his ability to take other people's abilities, which I know seems kind of broken, and it is. His other abilities are stuns. And Ricky. Ricky is really... I don't recommend him. A lot of people say, oh, just play Ricky, you'll win the game every time, because his permanent invisibility allows you to sneak around. If you're into playing the Spy in TF2, Ricky might just be for you. That's pretty much it. He's invisible, he gets behind you, he stabs you a bunch of times, you're dead. He can also put up smoke that silences you. That freaking smoke is evil. Anyway, Razor. A lot of people seem to like playing him. I don't. But he does have a nice AoE, kind of like Blast. Queen of Pain, AoE cone, sort of like Misfortune's cone attack. Mostly melee, I don't recommend her. Pugna, don't recommend for starters. Pudge, do not recommend for starters unless you are a Blitzcrank aiming master and you master that hook. Use Pudge if you are the hook master, otherwise avoid. Puck is pretty good because of the teleport. You can cast this orb out and then teleport to where the orb goes. And her other abilities involve just, you know, pinning the enemy down in place. And she actually has the ability to dodge. So if you're really good at reacting to an incoming attack, you can phase shift. They used to actually let you phase shift as an auto click, but they took that out because it was too broken and too easy to avoid that first incoming attack. You know, it just made you almost immortal against, you know, surprise attacks. So they took it out. It's too bad, though. I really liked playing as Puck at one point when that was auto-cast. But again, they've made it a little bit harder. Phantom Lancer is pretty much a solo character who can replace his entire team because he makes duplicates of himself. He's a bit overpowered right now. I don't know if a nerf is coming in, but if you want to try a really broken character, play Phantom Lancer. He's the only broken character in the game so far. Phantom Assassin has a dagger that stuns people, can pretty much become semi-invisible, which I still don't understand how that works. And her ultimate is pretty much just critical hits. A very simple melee champ to learn. Avoid Outworld Destroyer. Omni Knight's a great support, but you should avoid him because he's really complicated to learn. Ogre Mage, or Magi, sorry, pretty simple to learn. He's a melee wizard, and he does a lot of nuking damage up front on single targets. Pretty easy to figure out. Plus, he's got 2 heads, and that's funny. Nyx Assassin, avoid. You can go invisible and sneak up and kill people, but I still recommend avoiding him. Night Stalker, I see a lot of noobs try to figure out Night Stalker. You have to understand the day and night cycles really well and timing, and he's all about strategy and using that time element. If you aren't familiar with that, just avoid him. Necrolite, pretty good at single target killing. Other than that, I wouldn't say he's a very good support. I wasn't able to heal very well with him. Nature's Prophet. You can be anywhere on the map. If you're a jungler and you like jungling, this guy is pretty much the king of the jungle, and I mean that quite true. He could just be anywhere in that jungle and own the whole place. Naga Siren has a giant AoE stun. She's pretty cool, actually. I like her. She can also make mirror images of herself. She's pretty good. Morphling, don't play him. Don't play him until you know the game in and out, because he's all about stat shifting and teleportation stuff. Mirana, pretty straightforward. You should be able to figure out. She just nukes people with Moonlight. Meepo, do not play Meepo. I've said don't play some of these guys. Meepo is the one guy that you absolutely should not ever play until you have understood the game, because he is literally like playing a game of StarCraft. You can have 5 Meepos on the level running about, jungling, pushing lanes, doing stuff, and that might seem overpowered, but if one Meepo dies, all the Meepos die. Terrible. Medusa. You know that one Medusa type character? Imagine her with a bit more range, and you pretty much get the same thing. Magnus. I don't know what to say about him. I haven't really played him, but I can say he's a bit of a tank. Lycanthrope has some cool minions that follow him around and do stuff. He's a pretty cool character. You might have fun with him. Luna's also... Oh, wait, sorry. Luna's the one that nukes people with Moonlight. I got her mixed up with Mirana. Mirana's got a spear that hits people. Okay, who is up to? Lone Druid's got a bear. Don't play him because he's too complicated. Lion's really a beast. If you want to just kick butt, you can play as him. Lena's a nuker, but she's just so... glass cannon, and it isn't funny. I don't recommend it. Life Stealer's pretty good, but he's kind of complicated. You have to understand his secrets. Lich's ult is really nice. A lot of people like playing Lich. I totally recommend Lich if you want to play a mage. Leshrac, good stunner. Kunkka, good at pushing. He's kind of like, he's actually almost exactly like the pirate guy whose name is eluding me right now. Wow, that's... Anyway, Keeper of the Light. I've already talked about him in my last video. I like him. He's a great lane pusher support, very much like Soraka. Juggernaut is basically Master Yi. You're not going to have any difference there between Juggernaut and Master Yi. Jakiro, it's kind of okay. Nuker / lane push, not that great in my opinion, but a lot of people do seem to have fun with him. Do not play IO. Invoker, don't play him. He's too complicated. He has more skills than anybody else in the game, and you have to learn how to use them and everything. It's a lot of complexity there. Just don't play him. Just like, you know, just avoid. Huskar, good. He's freaking Mundo with range. Gyrocopter, he's basically Corky. Faceless Void, avoid because of his ult. You just won't understand how to use it. Enigma, he's got minions that are pretty cool. I kind of like his black hole effect too. If you like playing Nidalee, you're gonna love playing Enchantress. Basically the same character. Elder Titan, I know nothing about. Earthshaker, nice ranged stun. Drow Ranger, basically Ashe. Dragon Knight, basically Shyvana. Doom, don't play him. Disruptor, yeah, he's kind of okay. Death Prophet's really nice. Dazzle's got a lot of really cool healing abilities that also hurt people. Darkseer's got a nice little sort of AoE thing going on. Crystal Maiden's got a nice AoE freeze, but she's a glass cannon like her sister, the Fire Lady. Clockwork is basically exactly like a mix between Blitzcrank and that emo mummy guy. It was Amumu. Clink's really nice if you're a ranged carry type. He has fire arrows, and he can go invisible and run real fast, and he basically just hits people really hard. Chen, I don't recommend him for newbies. Chaos Knight, he's all about random chance, so you have a random chance to suck with him. Avoid. Centaur War Runner, a lot of people seem to like him. He's strength-based and pretty simple. Broodmother, avoid, because she's all about strategy and having lots and lots of spiderlings. Bristleback, he's basically a tank, and if you like playing Rammus, you're going to have fun with him. Brewmaster, a lot of people like Brewmaster, but his ult is really confusing because you're split into 3 different people. Basically, wherever the Earth guy goes, you go to him. Bounty Hunter, he can track down people, and when he's attacking people, he moves faster, and he can basically, you know, target people. Bloodseeker, he can slow people down, and as they walk, they lose health. Pretty awesome melee champ. Beastmaster, don't play because he's really complicated to learn because he's a very heavy jungler. Unless you're into like learning the jungle, don't play him. Batrider can pretty much go everywhere on the map without having to worry, and he can lasso and pull people. He's basically like if you took that Scorpion dude and made him able to go anywhere on the map. Vayne, don't recommend for newbies, but I do love him because he's a single target assassin. He can basically stun a guy and keep him there, and their health's going to just drain down. Axe, really good at counterattacking. Anti-mage, hates mages. The lower a person's mana is, the more damage you're going to do to him. That's awesome. Also, he can teleport. Ancient Apparition just slows people and is kind of like that Phoenix, Ice Phoenix thing. And lastly, but not leastly, we come to Alchemist, who is nothing like Nunu at all, even though he kind of looks like him. His abilities are not recommended for newbies because it's all about timing. So that's my rundown of all the characters. Woo! Hope I did that fast enough. Bye-bye.